Hi, I'm Liron Cohen.
And I'm Mimi Torchin.
And you're listening to Lady Parts TV, the podcast.
Whee!
Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to another podcast. We have lots to tell you about, and we did manage to tally 7 primetime shows this week. Well, we're going back and watching some old stuff, and we don't tally that. And we've been watching a lot of movies and
that's
one
a lot,
shit show
for
debate
us these days.
So out of the 7 shows, written or co-written by women is 5, which is 71%, which is pretty big.
That's great.
And directed 3, which is 43%, not too bad. Before we tell you about all the new stuff, this is the 3rd week in a row now that I'm going to mention Ratched, but we do it in stages. And last time when we talked to you, we had just watched the 4th episode, and in the meantime, we finished it, and we just loved it.
It was stunning.
So we definitely recommend it. You must watch it. Get over the gore. I'm not a fan, and I managed to get over it. And it decreases as the show goes on.
It does. It decreases as the show goes on, and I mean there still is some, but it's not what it's about. So
right, there's the more psychological aspects are revealed, and the more happens, the less the gore means gore. It's just a means to an end.
And we have a lot of lovely lesbian.
A lot of lesbianism. And if you have watched the show, I just have to say that puppet.
Oh, I was just gonna mention the puppet theater episode.
We hate puppets.
Hate them.
But that episode was masterful. Both acting and directing and writing. It was just masterfully done, and I think we've added it to our Lady Parts TV Awards list of 2021.
I think so, yes. And I'm surprised, actually. I didn't think I was going to love it as much as I did, because although I think Ryan Murphy is a genius, he goes over the top too much for me sometimes.
But he also knows how to pull back. And he also knows how to
He doesn't always do it, though.
No, but
this was a case
knows how to infuse it with a lot of emotion and a lot of
yes. No,
insight.
I absolutely adored this series.
So there you have it. Somebody who started and ended up loving it. So
yeah, well, I always was going to watch it.
So the first movie we have to tell you about is a documentary called The Great American Lie. It premieres in theaters on demand and in digital October 2nd, so it's already out there. And I have to have a little fangirl moment here. It's directed, produced, and written by somebody I adore, Jennifer Siebel Newsom, who also did Misrepresentation. If you have not seen Misrepresentation, you must.
Want to see.
You must. And she is a brilliant feminist who knows how... I mean, I don't think there's ever been a documentary where I cried without, it being about the Holocaust or something like that.
Or animals dying.
Animals, I would never even come near a documentary about that. So this documentary is about the American dream and how it hasn't really been,
much of a dream,
much of a reality for anybody in the last few decades, especially, and looking at it through the lens of, especially through the gender lens of inequities and inequalities in America. It follows a few people, among them a woman who you will fall in love with. She is the principal of a school in a tough neighborhood, and she's the things women do.
The things women do.
They're saviors. And especially when it comes to children, they are saviors. And it shows you not only what's been going on in the last few decades and how we got here, but also since, of course, the recent administration, how bad things have become. And it talks about the different approach to life in general, but also to government, about what's considered masculine and what's considered feminine, and how over the course of the years we've dedicated more resources and put more emphasis and value on things that are quote unquote masculine, like war and competition, as opposed to building communities and education and healthcare, which is things that are considered more feminine. It's an excellent movie. I personally think that it should be mandatory viewing for all American citizens and for people around the world. That's recommended too. So I really urge you to watch it. It's called The Great American Lie, and you can find it on demand already now. So check it out for sure. And if you haven't seen Misrepresentation, also check it out for sure. The second movie that we want to tell you about is called Sno Babies. Snow as in S-N-O.
Though I always thought it was spelled just like snow.
Well, in this title, it's not. It already premiered on VOD again, digital video on demand, September 29th, so it's out there for you to watch. Directed by Bridget Smith and written by Michael Walsh. And starring two young women who I don't know from anything, Katie Kelly and Paula Andino, who were absolutely revelations. They were wonderful. They're fantastic actresses. And also Michael Lombardi and Shannon Wilson.
College, they're probably in their 20s for all we know, but they're supposed to be high school seniors.
Right. And as the title might suggest, they are heroin addicts. And they're, yeah.
No, I was just saying, this also, I think, should be shown.
Absolutely, mandatory viewings.
In high schools and perhaps even starting at the end of middle school.
Yeah, and it's about two young girls who come from good families, upper class. They supposedly have everything, going back to the American dream, and they're addicted to heroin. And unfortunately, we know that this is now something that a lot of families are dealing with.
All over the country.
Right. And, I expect, knowing this type of film about addiction, about eating disorders, about all those things, I kind of expected a little bit of a formula movie. And I was very pleasantly surprised that it was not formulaic at all. It was very powerful. It stayed with me for quite a few days after we watched it.
It was riveting, and it was painful, very, very painful. We did watch it we've had it to watch for a while.
Yeah, we just kept putting it
off.
off.
I don't think I can watch about kids being addicted to, I just don't know. It's too much. But it wasn't too much.
No, it wasn't. It was because it was done so well. And again, it wasn't formulaic. It was the drama of it, and it was, I think it's a really important movie.
Pay attention to your kids, people, if they say, I really need to tell you something. If you notice a big change in them, don't let your phone interrupt you. Don't let your job interrupt you.
Don't let your self-denial interrupt you. Because a lot of these parents didn't want to see what was very apparent.
Yes, but I think... yes, that too. But I just think that they trusted their kids. They were good kids. One of them, especially Katie Kelly's parents, a mother in particular, was very attentive to her needs. But something always interrupted them. Her business interrupted.
And kids
and these are smart kids. These are high achievers. In fact,
well, and also
again,
oftentimes
over
their parents
pushed.
push them, right? And something has to break. Or they find ways to cope with things, because really kids are under a lot of pressure now with so many demands.
One of the characters makes a very powerful speech. She's speaking to kids in schools and on the internet, and sort of the whole problem of what goes on with these kids, these middle class kids, is summed up, and I thought it made a lot of sense.
We really recommend it. It's an excellent film and very important, about a very important subject matter that we should all see, so that we can also recognize it in our friends, in our family members.
God forbid, but yes.
Yeah, but
it happens
in
the best of families.
I mean, listen, now we say everybody should carry Narcan.
Yes, that was the first thing we said. We said, first of all, it should be an all restaurant
AIDS,
kits,
first aid
kits.
But there's a reason why we say that, because it's become so commonplace that people, that it's become like, well, we should all carry Narcan, as if it's normal for people just overdose around us. But it's true; it's become reality.
And since Narcan has been invented, has been discovered, I'm sure it saved so many lives. It's such a shame there'd be so many people alive today if it was sooner. But as long as it's there, use it.
Right. So Sno Babies, S-N-O Babies, is now available on demand. Really, really watch it. Show it to your kids if you have them.
Okay. Well, we just watched, absolutely, I think it was a wonderful movie, called A Call to Spy. It premieres October the 2nd.
Which is, again, already,
this
for
Friday.
you, it's already there.
Yes. And where is it?
Again, on digital, on demand. Nowadays, most of these movies, some of them have small releases in theaters, the very few theaters that are out there and are open, but most of them are released now on demand and on digital on various platforms.
I'd like to know from anyone who's listening, have any of you, since movie theaters have done limited openings, been to a movie theater? I'd just be curious. Anyway, it was directed by Linda Dean Pilcher, who has executive produced fantastic movies. Iron Jawed Angels, one of the best movies about feminism ever. The Talented Mr. Ripley, a movie I've seen at least 5 times. And The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks, which is only more recent.
Yeah, and it was also excellent, starring Oprah Winfrey. This is, I think, only her third directorial. Yeah.
Well, she's got a very sure hand, I must say.
The second, actually, one of the 3, the other one is Radium Girls, which we'll review very soon.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But anyway, she obviously has a bent for movies about strong women, feminists, trailblazers.
Yes. She's really good. And it's written by Sarah Megan Thomas, who is basically the lead.
Yeah. Good for her.
Yes. And I don't know her from anything. And I guess she was maybe one of these women who says, I'm tired of not having any projects. I think I'll write myself one.
Well, and also, this is, again, it always amazes me how many stories there are still left untold from the Second World War.
I think that we could watch a personal story about the Second World War every day.
I think if someone would write them,
they would be this is a spy story.
Right, and what I was going to say is that, she may have come across a book or something that told this story and thought, this should be made into a movie,
Mm-hmm. I'm sure there was something written about it because, again, it is based on the truth. It stars Sarah Megan Thomas as Virginia Hall, who is a historic character. You might want to look her up. In America.
And surprise.
Donna Kotick, who I adore, but I have never loved her more than this film.
Now, I know that we have a lot of Stana Katic fans, so I just want to tell you, this is Stana Katic like you've never seen her before, and the best you've ever seen her.
The best you've ever seen her. She's British. She has some
background. She has a very nice British accent.
Very good, just kind of posh, and it fits her, the costumes. I think it takes place in 40, starts off in like 42. 42. They're just to die for, and she is quite wonderful. Besides being gorgeous, she is really, really excellent. Layla Robbins has a small part, and what's his name?
Linus Roach.
Linus Roach
and
has
also
a rather large part.
Another actress,
Radhika Apte, who is mostly a wonderful young actress, beautiful woman. She does a lot of Indian films. Anyway, in the beginning of the British were doing poorly, and what they decided they needed was to build a spy network in France. And they trained a lot of women to be spies.
Sometimes the fact that nobody notices us is to our advantage.
Right. Churchill orders a new spy unit to recruit and train women as spies. And they did a really good job on it. The women were amazing, but it was very, very dangerous.
They told them they have 50%
chance of coming back.
Especially because there were, at the very beginning, a lot of mistakes were made.
Yes, Virginia had a wooden leg, and they had to go through strenuous training. She was absolutely driven to do this, and I think part of it was also to show that she could do anything, and she could, and.
It was just the story.
Noor she was a pacifist, and
she wanted also to prove that Muslims can be part of the war effort
and be honored. And she was a fabulous radio operator, and The movie was very, very exciting. Started off a little slowly.
Yeah, the first hour was a little slow.
Yeah, it wasn't
for me.
slow for me because I was engrossed in it. You had to get to know and care about these characters. You had to see.
No, it's just something about the pacing.
Yeah,
it's not about that.
Didn't bother me
but
one bit.
But that's okay because it was still interesting, and
yes.
the subject matter was something that I wanted to.
Yes,
finish.
Something we didn't know about, and then it gets really exciting and really dangerous and really rather terrifying.
And they're just so admirable, which is just you watch it knowing that it was a true story, and that always brings it so much
selfless
more.
Women.
And tough,
strong, my God! What Virginia
brave,
Hall had
courageous.
to go through with her one leg, and apparently Sarah Megan Thomas tore her Achilles heel, had many surgeries, and I can see why she had to do a lot of very difficult things wearing a wooden prosthetic.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, we really recommend it. A Call to Spy is now out, available in digital, on demand. Look for it.
Absolutely. I think if you like World War II stories, you will really, really appreciate this film. And I just want to say again, why were the Nazis so horrible? Why do they always have to be so horrible?
Well, there are fine people on both sides,
On both
Mimi.
sides, yes. No, unfortunately, there were not fine people on both sides.
And anybody who didn't understand that was sarcasm.
Yeah, I think...
Just in case.
Just in case. Well, actually, there were good people on the German side and on the...
I didn't say Germans, I said Nazis.
Nazis,
exactly. That's a difference.
Oh, it's a whole different proposition. On a completely different track, Death of Me, which premieres in theaters, on demand, and on digital, October 2nd.
This is a very busy weekend for you
very,
all.
Very, very busy. It's a horror film directed by Darren Lynn Bousman, who did several of the Saw franchise, a film called Spiral and some others, Abattoir. And so you can get an idea of what kind of...
what you can expect.
...films he does, except this, I don't think this is Abattoir-y, actually. It was written by Ari Margolis, James Morley III, and David Tisch. So as you can see, it's not very...
no, but it's female-led.
But Maggie Q...
who is really the main reason to watch.
And that was why I was eager to see it. And she's quite wonderful. Also, Luke Hemsworth plays her husband, and someone named Alex Esso, who I don't know, is also in it. It takes place in Thailand. And it's of the ilk of Shirley Jackson's The Lottery and The Wicker Man. And if you know what those are, you will understand what's going on here better than we did. And if you don't know what it is, I'm just going to let you discover it. Maggie and Luke, I don't remember their characters' names. They're actually not vacationing. They're vacationing on on an island off Thailand, and her name is Christine, right? And Neil, her husband, played by Luke Hemsworth again, he is a travel reviewer, and that's what they're there for. But the movie begins with them waking up in their bed and breakfast, completely hungover, not knowing at all what happened the night before. No memory at all. The room is a mess, an absolute mess, and they're sort of bewildered. And then they find some footage on Neil's camera, and they watch horrified because this exposes to them some of the things that they've been through. And it looks like Neil is trying to murder Christine. It's baffling. Anyway, there's 24 hours until until the next ferry. A typhoon is coming. She in particular is being pursued. They get really caught up in this web of black magic and murder and mystery. And it's really a scary film. It's a very scary film. But it's I like to say it's a tiny little thriller. It really does wrap itself up very well. It's very tightly made. It's very well crafted. It's nice to look at. It's hallucinogenic because there are hallucinogenics involved. And if you like this kind of a film, I recommend it to you. I really, really do. If you're not a fan of the horror genre, there's no real monster in this. but there is a familiar monster, which is an odd religion. So it's called Death of Me, and it's a surprising and scary and very good little film.
Finally, we have a new show. Yes, a new show coming to Fox. And it's they call it an event series, which is just a different way to say a mini series, really. It's from the executive producer of 24, and it's called Next. It stars John Slattery, yes, a man, but two prominent women are around him and part of his journey, Fernanda Andrade and Eve Harlow. And even more so, the reason I wanted to mention this is because I also think, in line with everything else that not everything, but there were quite a few things here that we say mandatory viewing, you have to see this and to know what's going on. And I think this is probably going to end up being mandatory viewing as well, because it's really about
AI.
It's about AI, and it's about, there are quite a few people in Silicon Valley, quite a few of the leaders of creating these machines who are also warning against what can happen because of these artificial intelligence and how far they're taking them.
And we've been warned for a very, very long time, and there has been, it seems to me, no effort to slow down the development and the science of making AI
because
more and more intelligent.
Because I also don't really know that people understand that when we say AI, we don't just mean, a computer robot somewhere out there that's going to take over the world. We also mean your Alexa and your smart
Siri
TV, your phone, your iPad.
I mean, you know perfectly well that when you say something about, oh gosh, I'd like to get a slow cooker. The next time you look on your phone,
you get ads
for slow cookers.
Right.
I mean, within a couple of minutes.
Right.
So it's pretty terrifying.
So this is one of those things where John Slattery plays one of the leaders in the field, and he's starting to warn people against what's going on. And in this specific case, because it's a show and because there has to be an immediate threat, there's a very specific kind of a rogue AI machine that's trying to take over, I don't know if the world in general, but, they're blaming him, of course, that he's being paranoid and hallucinating and all that stuff. And his paranoia might just be the thing that ends up saving us from the end of the world.
Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean no one is trying to kill you.
So it looks very good. It looks so realistically scary.
Yes, it does. It looks terrifying.
Yes, because we know that we're already in the midst of that scenario, and who knows what to expect. So
now, I like things. I love movies about AI, but the AI movies that I really love are about
benevolence. Yeah.
Yes, generally benevolent. Sometimes they turn not so benevolent. In fact, sometimes the AIs are so benevolent and sad that I never watched AI more than once because it was just too painful. But this is not that. This is not a warm fuzzy or
no. This is scary.
Or a very attractive.
But we don't know. We don't know what's going to end up being under the. I mean, because there have been several of these movies and TV shows where they actually show that they don't necessarily have bad intentions, but they're misused and abused, and then they turn on their humans because humans, as always, like to treat inferior things, objects, and people that they perceive inferior.
How, as it turns out, when you watched a sequel, was not a malevolent computer in 2000, Space Odyssey. 2001, was it A Space Odyssey? Which was one of our earliest AI films. He was programmed by a rogue.
Of course, I mean, human created them, so whatever they turn out to be.
Well, sometimes they go beyond their.
Well, yeah. Anyway, so it looks very interesting. It's called Next. It premieres Tuesday, October 6th, on Fox. And we think it's going to be very.
I think it's going to be a very exciting movie. I think it's going to be well received.
Show.
Oh, it's a show.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, it's a mini-series.
Right. An event series. Can I just throw one more thing in about Death of Me? if you're in a strange country, in a small village, and someone tries to offer you something to drink that you don't know what it is, it's never a good idea to drink it. Just don't, okay? That
Words for the wise, okay? Thank you for joining us again. We're probably going to skip next week's podcast episode because we have a very big weekend with the Talking Teal Rap Party. Mm-hmm. If you're a Talking Tealer, please send your submissions. We're looking forward to them. But we will be back with lots of new movies that are queued up for us to review for you, and lots of more things to talk about.
I think you should watch the party, even if you're not a generally.
It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun, and it'll show you what you've been missing not being part of the Talking Teal family.
There you go. So thank you for joining us again, and we will talk to you very soon.
Have a great week.